Welcome, Neil Rogers, to the M Word podcast.
Hey Jennifer, how are you? Thanks so much for having me.
I'm excited for this conversation. I opened up before we hit record and I said, "Are you always in a good mood? Are you always positive?" Because it's kind of your brand. Tell us a little bit about your brand and why my question was so leading.
Well, first of all, it's something that I've developed over time. So I grew up seventh of eight of an Irish Catholic family, and let's just say criticism came quick, where compliments came slow. The Socratic method wasn't practiced in our house. Now, this is not uncommon, 60 years ago, right? So, most of my family, although we've got a great relationship, we've taken different paths. I'm the only one in the people business. I went into hospitality, and then, you sink or swim. You want to be walk around sullen and non-conversational. Let me show you where you're going to work and how much money you're going to make. However, if you go the other route, which I did, which I enjoyed, and that's really where it kind of ticked off what I was going to be able to do, because Neil was never going to be an engineer. And when I first poured my first drink, when I became a bartender, I was like, oh, here's something I could be good at. So then it just kind of snowballed from there. And some things I just did, like when I first got out on the road, I would put notes on my dashboard. Stay out on the road, stay positive, make another call. It's just getting started. Nobody taught me that. I just did it. It wasn't something it wasn't some self-help thing I found, or I didn't read Dale Carnegie till 40 years later. So it's like,
I was gonna say the whole mindset movement was not really all the rage back then, right?
no, well, yeah, it was, man, but you were hanging out on Haight-Ashbury, right?
Hmm.
So, but yeah, so that's kind of how it happened. And then I married this beautiful, positive person, and we kind of, all my success came from my hospitality roots, which is being nicer, being positive, over delivering, all those types of things. So it just kind of just became that, it came part of my DNA,
Hmm.
post, how I was brought up. So that's kind of how it all started. And then later on in life, we've discovered so many other things. I wish I started yoga 40 years ago. I'm 20 years in now. I wish I knew about meditation 40 years ago. Not so sure, they would have had probably brought me kicking and screaming, but if I knew how simple it was to get started, I could have immersed myself in it and saw the benefits of it and saw how I felt. That would have been good. So, and then we just realized that, by read some of the books that we read, I mean, things like most every time I say I'll get the nod, Think and Grow Rich and, How to Win Friends and Influence People. We're big into the happiness advantage and Sean Acorn and all of his research. And it says if your happiness level or your positivity level is high, you're going to sell 37% more. So why not? And then you just feel better. It's better. I was just saying, interesting. So to this point of the teeth story I just told you, as I'm leaving the dentist.
The teeth story he told me before we hit record because he was smiling and so happy when he came on my Zoom screen. And so I teased and said, Neil, do you always have to be so positive? And he shared how he's happy with some outcome of dental work.
Little mild cosmetic dentistry, folks. It was way down from the original quote, I promise you, and the hassle would have come with it. So I walked out of the chair, giddy. It was the best
Hmm.
outcome I could have hoped for, and it didn't cost me a lot of money. And there was a woman I knew from before, and her husband is an orthodontist right down the street. He's a friend of mine, and I'm just giddy talking, and she's talking to the same person as I said, "Oh yeah, I got this thing," and of course, she goes, "Now go down and see my husband, get him straightened out." So I talked to Kathy
Wah,
afterwards,
wah.
who was the woman
Yeah.
that we were both talking to on the way out. And she went to the old adage. I said, "Do you know this woman all that well?" She goes, "I know her okay, but of course I know her husband a lot because he's in here a lot." And I said, "Okay." Let me just tell you, that is characteristic of something that she would do. And then Kathy went into, folks, the old adage, if you haven't got anything good to say, don't say it.
Yeah. So let's fast forward a little bit, Neil. So
Sure.
you have a company, it's called Positive Activity.
Mhm.
And I don't want to speak for you. I want to hear from you
Sure.
about so this idea that to be successful in business, to be successful in sales, sort of this starts from within. If you can truly be a happier person, more positive person, you will be more successful. So it's not about faking happiness, right? You are helping people learn how to actually become more positive in their own life, and therefore then it's not a tip or a trick, or is it?
No. Well, I mean, first of all, when we do our program, Positive Activity, the lovely bride is much better at that piece of it. Yes, I can go through it. I do it. I can say how it affects me. So it's these simple things, and we all talk about them today. No, but this is nobody's splitting the atom on this stuff. It is a gratitude practice, or we call it an appreciation practice, because Lori has this thing. She says, what appreciates appreciates. What you appreciate appreciates. So we go through that process. We meditate. We move every day. And we plan it out. What are we going to do today? And it could be a 20-minute walk, half hour. Typically, it's a yoga studio or Pilates or something of that nature. And once you've planned that all, and then I do I am statements. I am a speaker, I am a writer, I am this, I am that, all those things. These are more now you're going back to Napoleon Hill and affirmations and things like that. Or Joel Osteen is big on I am statements. And then I do this thing where another book that we espouse, or at least the actual agreements, is the four agreements. I'm sure you're familiar with that, where you know don't say anything disparaging about yourself or others. Don't make assumptions. Don't take things personally, and always do your best. And it's kind of a when I give a talk, it's kind of how I set the stage on positivity and how positive are you? Hey, who in this crowd feels themselves positive? We could, you know, a lot of hands raised. I feel bad for the ones that don't raise their hand, but we move on. But I would make my way around to the back, and I asked those four questions. I say, do you ever find yourself being disparaging of yourself or others? Do you find yourself making assumptions only to find out you went down a bad road and you were wrong? Do you take things personally, not considering the other party, what's going on in their day? Whatever might be happening. And then finally, if any of those things are true, does that affect your performance either at work or at home? And then I come back in front and go, guilty on all charges, because I give myself grace. Nobody bats 1,000. Yeah, I would suggest 99.9% of the time, I'm like I am right now. But there's some Irish in me, so it can show up now and again, and that's just something that I'm cognizant of, and that's why I do these practices.
Do
That's
you
why.
think can grumpy people truly become positive people? Can they is it because you said that you kind of emerged from a family environment like very different than everybody. Like you were sort of innately, you found yourself as this outgoing, personable, relationship driven guy. So it seems like that was your innate state. So if you're not that, like thinking of those who came from your family, like can they adopt these things and actually change how they are, what their instinctual sort of being is like?
I in that in the talks, because when I say a few, and then I say then
Oh,
I
I'm
say
going to ask you to
who
pause, Neil. We're having a little
sure.
bit of sound issue, and I want to make sure we capture the sound good on that. Um, Did you hear my question? I'm going to make
Yes, I did.
okay because the Zoom froze there. Okay, so I'm going to let you answer now.
So that's precisely why when I give a talk on this, that I start out with this, who is positive, and ask those questions. And then I become one of them because then I say, who do you think amongst us is the least likely? The next person on the screen is me. And I take them through how I was brought up. I loved my parents. I took care of them or was part of taking care of them to the day they die. But nobody bats 1,000. I mean, nobody got it. Nobody got it. So I give them grace, and I'm asking it for my kids. I'll tell them straight up. I said, well, why I did that, I really don't have an answer for that. When I walked off, man, when I walked off the basketball court, when you weren't shooting threes the way I thought you should be shooting threes, sorry about that. Got nothing for you. But so yeah, so I think everybody now there's a lot of things that have to go on. We try our darndest to hang around with like-minded people. We've got old
Mm-hmm.
friends, and they're all in that ballpark. That everybody pretty close. But I mean, that's where I stay in a yoga environment. I'm a cyclist, biking. Cyclists are always positive, always gracious and ready to go. So yeah, if what is that? Your vibe attracts your tribe. One of those sayings that's on a coffee cup somewhere I saw. But
Mm-hmm.
that's I think there's no truer word. So you do that and then mix it in with some of these practices, you'll find yourself, not wanting to hang around with those that are negative. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then you're going to see how the way you reacted to me. Are you always like this? I'd like to say yes, but some days. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm there, I'm there. So it's like, so yeah, and it's simple. I'm going off the screen here a second, but for everybody out there, nothing more but this baby. And in there, it's got, in the back, I've got Jimmy Buffett's quotes.
This is
Simple.
this is your own notebook you're holding
This
up.
is my journal.
Your journal. Okay.
And these things get cut and pasted into the next journal because you run out. But it's like, solid advice from Jimmy Buffett, live beneath your means, return everything you borrow. Things like that go. There's
Mm-hmm.
23 of them. Every once in a while, I'll just read through them. I'll read through the roadmap for hope that somebody gave me. And then I'll read my own credo on business and how it's about integrity and operate that everybody wins. And no deal is good unless everybody walks away happy, you know? And that keeps me centered and happy and ready to go. And that way, when I'm sitting here and I'm putting together a deal or a thought process, I go, how would I want to be treated in this? How
Mm-hmm.
would I want to be treated? And that's the way we treat people. So going back to the old adage, do unto others, correct? So yeah, I think once they find, if they went into a positive activity program, spent the day with us, and then committed to 90 days, plus or minus, give yourself some grace, plug and play, or whatever, on things that we do, and then what their productivity part is. So back up a second. The ditty that goes with positive activity is, it is the practice, because we're all yogis and nothing's perfect, of getting your
Mm-hmm.
mindset right in a place of positivity, which leads you to open-minded, divergent thinking, solution provided, creativity. So
Mm-hmm.
you're in creative mode and you're open-minded. You don't see problems, you see solutions. It's rare that I feel boxed in these days. Now, were there days I felt boxed in? Yeah. Could there be come in the future? Sure, maybe. But by and large, we get some pretty good stuff thrown at us. We've got a special needs son. We
Mm-hmm.
figure it out and we move on. And that leads to, once you're in that creative mode, now you can put your productivity steps in, whatever those are. The ones that we initially came up with for this purpose were business development practices that have been successful, that have made us successful.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. It's like, so, this business, well, you're speaking on these topics, the book you've written, the activities that you run for others to learn these practices. This is not your first business. You've been in business for a long time, in a,
Yeah, this is a sister business.
right. So
Yeah.
you cut your teeth on what might be easier to understand for some folks, which is like, the things business, your promotional products and whatnot.
Yeah,
Is that correct? Yeah.
correct.
So were you was it just your natural self doing the having sort of this perspective and this ethos or this value system that you just because that's who you were, and then you're like, hey, that actually really helped me in business? Or did you go and seek out some of these methodologies because you were wanting to focus on your business and be more successful? Like what was the chicken or an egg situation?
So it goes back. So again, I graduated high school. Well, again, I mean, you know how we are today. We get our kids planned from DNA right up until, well, we're still involved with our 36, yeah, 36, 34, 30-year-old kids, right? We are. Not like hovering, but what are you doing? You coming on? When are you coming on?
Mhm.
Those types of things. But for me, at 17 years old, graduating high school in May, I literally went to my mother and said, "Oh, should I be doing something next year?" Right. So
Mhm.
I went to community college and flunked out. Oh, by the way, folks, you're now listening to probably the only person on the planet who's flunked out of two community colleges. And I then that's when I started bartending. Then I went back. So I flunked out. I went, started bartending. I flunked out because I just lost interest. I did pretty well my first semester, and I just kind of like, I get, and I have no answer for it. So
Mhm.
I did the bartending thing. Oh, no, now I'm going to be in hotel restaurant. Well, okay, now I go to hotel restaurant school. That doesn't catch. Then this whole thing, sales would be for you, Neil. Okay, how do I do this? Right. And that's where I started being process driven. I couldn't fail again. It was really a point where it's like, this is a turning point in my life. And essentially, and this is going to sound silly to you and everybody that's listening, it was just about a little algorithm in today's parlance to get good at school. Because, who
Mhm.
knows, some mild ADD or something of that nature, undiagnosed, because I had focus issues and all that. But then I went, I just said, okay, I'm committing to this and I'm going for it. Now, this was the process. I don't know if you know this, but they like you to show up,
It helps. Yeah.
actively listen, take copious notes, participate in class, do the stuff after class, do the extra work, go to the office hours, all these things that sound kind of like sales. So now I've got this little thing and I see the success that brings me. I wind up being a 385 student from a twice flunked out kid out of community college. So I just took that on the road with me.
Hmm.
The stuff that I learned, the soft skills I learned as a bartender, the 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 process driven by becoming a successful student, and then I just took it like my first job, and I just every day I went out, told you about this is where I put the little stickies, the positives, stay out, make an extra call, stay on the road, all those things, and I just realized. Then I looked up. It started out. It was like I think $150,000 territory. In 18 months, I had 1.5 million. Just showing up, being nicer, not intrusive, not overselling, knowing what I was talking about, looking appropriately,
Mhm.
all those simple things, the little things that mean everything. And so I did that. I did that, and then I did the same thing in the sporting goods business. So Lori and I just got married. I'm just starting to make commissions now that I'm at this 1.5 million deal, because that's where I ended. And Lori's at Fidelity. We got a pretty good life going on here between those two incomes. We got they gave us a car, this, that, and the other thing. And a buddy of mine came to me and said, "It's like to work for us, the sporting goods business." And I knew they were successful. I said, so I went from whatever I was, I think it was like 50 or 60 grand at the time in 1987, which
Good
wasn't,
money. Yeah.
to this. Totally
Zero.
commission-based sales.
Hmm.
And they gave me, I believe these numbers are right, or they're in the ballpark, $250,000 worth of business, which equated to about $5,000 in commissions. Same process, same stuff, no splitting of the atom. 4 years, $10 million. And so when we started this, which we've been at this for 28 years,
Hmm.
Similar type process. And the business development process was just, it was very similar. And we just kept on following it. That's why they come into this, into our program. And we're part of a bigger national concern. And, we 2 years ago, we're in their Hall of Fame. We've won multiple awards. And it's just because all those things we just talked about, the things that people
Yep.
would read in the book. It's not, and this is how I mentor young men, that can't really get off the schneid. And it's all about incremental changes, keep
So
making.
yes. So you talked about those young formative years, leave high school. You used the word failure. It was yours, and I often ask guests, like is there some failures or fuck ups that have been instrumental in your own journey? Now, with the benefit of history and time, I mean, do you still look at that period as a failure period, or did that set you up for, was it almost like you needed to go through those bumps to find yourself and be
Oh, I
successful?
did. I mean, yeah, I think so. I was so immature coming out of high school. Not worldly. I'm hanging around with we summered in this place called White Horse Beach, where it's part of Plymouth, Massachusetts, and people would come in from all over the area. I'm hanging out with Boston kids. I don't know what they're doing. What's going on here? That type of stuff. So yeah, I need a lot of growing up. I needed. Did I need to fail? No. I mean, but in the, do I wish I hadn't? I don't know where I would be. I think it did kind of set me up. It's almost like the lack of, I don't know, encouragement or emotional support, um,
Hmm.
from the family aspect. I took a divergent path. I went elsewhere. So would I have done that? Had everybody been hunky dory, or I don't know. I would have been something else. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think I think it's been I think it's a I think all those things were necessary to be where we are today. And it's helped me, this process has helped me in our personal life as well. I mean, this friend of mine came to me, I want to say a couple of years ago, 'cause it was published a couple of years ago. Read it, came up this summer and said, I really liked your book. Is that how you did the other stuff too? I said, yeah. And so what I did was, like in our special needs world, we took that same approach, positive, proactive approach to how we managed Craig's life, how we managed the school system. We didn't get all, let's get in a beef every time something went wrong. How can we help? How can we support you? Is the
hmm,
attitude we took. And we put together a parent group called PACE, Parents Assisting Special Education. And we had meetings. And the first thing I'd say is, you got any griefs? You leave them at the door. When you come in here, we're talking positive. We're talking about how we can help, how we can make things better. It wasn't always a popular position. I want to tell you that, because people, their
right,
disposition was they wanted to go, those people. I said, well, here's the deal. There's budget issues. The teachers are, some of these kids, some of these people are in their 20s making $35,000 a year, and we want them to peel off $500 to go do this or that. No, no. We need to support them and do it for them. And then we wound up taking our business acumen and our sales acumen, doing all these events. We put on conferences. It was like, it was wild. But we found it by connecting dots and doing things, and
right.
staying positive. And then when Craig graduated from the system and, went on to adult life, he loved school. He loved the structure of the school. So I started the first of its kind special needs classroom at Nashua Community College right here in New Hampshire.
That's fantastic.
And that
That's
has had over 300 kids go through it. One kid has graduated from that. These are intensive needs people, has graduated from the college. Um, and Craig got kicked out because at the time his behaviors were troubling, in some fashion. But fast forward a number of years, because we remained open and positive and always looking for something new. He just had to leave the college. He
Hmm.
stayed in the program. He just went back to, and it wasn't like, it was minor, but it was annoying. So it became annoying to some of the folks. So he came back and I want to say 4 or 5 years later, because we were out and about and people knew we were open, a woman I bike with said, "Hey, Neil, have you read Underestimated?" No, it's an autism miracle. Oh, really? You know what the last thing somebody who's been in the autism world for 29 years and spent hundreds, if not millions of dollars to try to make this right, wants to hear? There's another miracle.
Right.
Bad path, disappointment, all that. So I bought the book out of respect, put it on the kitchen, on the coffee table. Lori walked right past it, didn't go near it. Same reason, autism
Yeah.
miracle. Went and saw a doctor that we've used before for Craig, functional naturopath. Second thing out of her mouth. You've read Underestimated, haven't you? Uh, no, but I'm going to. That is this communication tool that we now hear from our son on. He was 31 and a half years old, and he spelled my first I love dad.
Wow.
Now, had we not remained positive, had we not remained open, as I said, in a creative mindset, because we kept on digging, we didn't stop because we were heading to go see some, and because we're in the mix, this opened up. This has changed our lives. It has changed his life. Now, is he still autistic? Does he still need 24-hour support? Yes, but he's happier. And
That's such an important lesson that and it's the whole you don't know what you don't know, and you won't be able to find it out if you're not receptive to hearing or learning
right,
or being open to things. So Neil, it, where you're at now, and where you want to be in your professional journey, in your career, you know, what's the hard now? Are you on cruise control, or are there still things that sort of become roadblocks or are unforeseen hurdles that you need to figure out?
I am 66 and a half years old. I can ride 100 miles on a bike right now. I do yoga, I weight train, I do all these things. I take music lessons. I sing and I play the piano. And that all that stuff, constantly learning. That's all my fun. We are now involved with the biggest RFP of my career, and it's great. So, what was great about it is that yesterday I figured it all out. I've got all the pieces. It's not a problem. We can do it, and we can do it well. So, is that hard? The hard is like you still want to keep doing it because that's going to come with, a lot of responsibility. At this
Mm-hmm.
stage, that's something that we want to do. The answer is yeah. I mean, it's because I don't have any designs on retiring. As you can tell, my enthusiasm level is as high as it's ever been. I believe in what we espouse. I think we're very good on the functional end of our primary business, and we can help people. And so the guy that just called, that wasn't him. That was another one that I'm working on. That's 130 stores and could be $1 million client. The other one's 14 potentially. So yeah, I think there'll be some bumps. I think there'll be some stuff that we have to do. There'll be some investment, but no, I don't really find I don't really I don't find it hard right now. I don't know if that's maybe it's just
It's
because
just
I'm
the work.
in.
It's just the work.
Yeah,
It's work.
it's
It's
just going
not.
to need time.
Yep. Yep. Well, Neil, I like to always close these conversations out by completely switching gears to something a little more playful.
Let's do it.
Uh, and you know what? I don't even know if I told you that I was going to ask you these questions. So, but I have a feeling you're going to be just fine
It'll be fine.
regardless.
Let them
What
fly,
what's
Jennifer.
your favorite social media?
Facebook.
Taylor Swift. Yay, nay, or don't care.
I have because my wife and daughter are so enthralled them, I have to say yay.
This one I think is going to be the hardest question I'm going to ask you because you talk a lot about books. Is there a book you always recommend?
Oh yeah, it's any number of those ones I talked about earlier, but yeah, I would say the one that if we said to read one, it would be The
Hmm.
Happiness Advantage
The Happiness Advantage.
by
That's
Sean Abel.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. And then lastly, where do you want to go on your next vacation?
I'm going to Ireland.
Awesome. So it's booked.
I
It's
was
happening.
I was looking at flights before you. I was just on the phone with my buddy Wiggle because we met 2 weeks ago. We were down in our place in Plymouth, Mass, and I met the mayor of Donegal. As a matter of fact, Jennifer, I gave her a dancing lesson. She didn't know
Yeah.
how to swing, but
So the next interview in full Irish uh, uh, intonation. That's fantastic.
so yeah.
Well, Neil, this has been so heartening of a conversation. Very not just uplifting, which I knew it would be talking with you again, but uh, I learned a lot. I hope our listeners did too. And we'll be sure to include in the show notes a link to these resources that you've mentioned, but also give a shout out to your own resources. Where can folks find more Neil Rogers?
I think the best place is to go to positiveactivity.net.
Wonderful. And
Everything's
we'll
there.
link that. Perfect.
Okay.
Well, Neil, I appreciate it. Very good luck on this. It sounds like a hugely exciting opportunity coming your way.
Oh,
Look
and we're
forward.
writing another book.
And we're writing another book. And what's this one on? Same stuff, different stuff?
Nope, it is so some of the stuff you heard about the special needs world, how to navigate the special needs world with positive activity.
Love it.
Yeah, it'll be a
Love
great
it.
read. And oh, by the way, good news, everybody out there. I told you about spellers, spelling to communicate with my son. He's contributing
That's really great.
and he's so happy.
Even better. Well, thank
Yeah.
you, Neil. I appreciate you being on the M Word today
Thank you,
and
Jennifer.
wishing you a great Irish vacation.
Thank you very much.